There's a hidden, unsettling truth that few people are willing to confront. The emotional impact of losing someone you love can haunt you forever. In an age where personal development and philosophies like Stoicism preach emotional detachment as the ultimate key to peace, we often hear that attachment leads only to suffering. Stoics argue that mastering the art of emotional control is the path to inner freedom, a way to withstand life's inevitable losses without being consumed by them. But here's the thing. No philosophy, however powerful, can fully protect you from the haunting echo of someone's absence. Imagine the person who seems completely composed after losing a loved one, the one who claims they've let go, who meditates and practices mindfulness with unwavering discipline. Stoic teachings would encourage them to focus solely on what's within their control, to reject dependency on external attachments, and to accept that everything in life is transient. And yet, even for the most disciplined Stoic, the memory of a lost relationship has a way of clawing its way back into the mind, regardless of how much control you think you have over your emotions. The reality is far darker than we like to admit. No matter how much we try to detach or suppress feelings, the human heart isn't easily swayed by philosophy. It doesn't forget the warmth of a shared memory, the comfort of a familiar laugh, or the bond that once felt unbreakable. Losing someone who mattered is like opening a wound that refuses to heal, one that continues to sting, sometimes when you least expect it. This emotional residue, this haunting sense of absence, can linger long after the moment of departure. So, why does this matter? Why should we care? Because understanding the true nature of loss, especially from a Stoic perspective, reveals a paradox. The more we try to master our emotions, the more we might be setting ourselves up for a deeper, longer-lasting impact. In this video, we'll explore the 7 dark truths of how losing someone will haunt you forever, even when you think you've learned to let go. Stick around, and by the end, you might just discover something about how we cope with loss and why it still hurts. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Stoicism truly helps in moments of loss, or does it only mask deeper emotional wounds? Let's discuss. Truth number 1, the illusion of complete detachment. There's a seductive allure in the idea of emotional detachment. In Stoic philosophy, the concept of distancing oneself from attachments is presented as a way to protect the heart from the turmoil of loss and disappointment. Detachment is seen as the key to emotional freedom, an art of mastering one's desires and maintaining equanimity regardless of external circumstances. On paper, it sounds like the perfect solution to life's inevitable heartbreaks. Remove yourself from emotional dependence and you'll never suffer again. But here's the dark truth that Stoicism doesn't always admit. Detachment, when taken to an extreme, is an illusion. It's a seductive lie we tell ourselves when we're faced with the possibility of loss, hoping that by distancing our hearts from people, we'll be free of the pain they bring. But the reality is that true detachment is impossible for most people. The heart doesn't simply shut off its feelings because we ask it to. Emotional connections are deep, primal forces embedded in our biology, our psychology, and our experiences. Love, friendship, and connection are not just fleeting ideas we can choose to disengage from at will. They are part of our very nature, woven into the fabric of who we are. You can't simply decide to stop caring about someone once you've truly formed a bond with them. Think about the last time you lost someone close to you. Even if you practiced all the Stoic strategies, telling yourself that what's gone is gone, or focus only on what you can control, did you truly stop feeling? Did the pain of that absence vanish the moment you told yourself it should? The answer, almost always, is no. Detaching your emotions from a meaningful relationship doesn't erase the imprint that person left on your soul. In fact, It often magnifies the loss because you're left grappling with the dissonance between what you feel and what you think you're supposed to feel. This is where the haunting begins. Stoicism encourages people to practice ataraxia, a state of inner peace free from distress, but there's a catch. When you try too hard to detach, you might end up losing something deeper, your sense of connection, your ability to feel deeply. This over-rationalization can lead to emotional numbness, and in the end, when the person you've lost drifts through your thoughts once more, the feelings of longing can hit even harder. Instead of finding peace, you may find yourself in an emotional void, a place where you've cut off the very thing that gave you life, your capacity for deep, human connection. The more you try to escape the natural ache of loss through detachment, the more you might find that the haunting becomes not just emotional, but existential. You'll always remember what it felt like to love, and that is something Stoicism can't teach you to forget. No matter how hard you try to follow its tenets, the scar that the lost person leaves on your soul may never fade. It may not manifest as raw grief forever, but it'll linger like a shadow in your mind, always there, quietly waiting for moments when you least expect it. So, let me ask you, do you really believe complete detachment is possible? Can we truly stop feeling for the people we care about? Or are we simply fooling ourselves into thinking we can? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever tried to detach from someone or something only to find it haunting you later? Let's talk about it. Truth number 2. The weight of unfinished connections. One of the most painful realities of losing someone is the haunting presence of unfinished business. It's the unspoken words, the unresolved conflicts, the what-ifs that linger long after the relationship has ended or the person has gone. Stoicism, with its emphasis on letting go of attachment and focusing on the present moment, would have us believe that we should simply release the past and move forward. But here's the dark truth. Unresolved connections don't disappear just because you tell yourself to let them go. In fact, they often come back to haunt us in ways we never expect. Think about the relationships that have left you with a sense of unfinished business. Maybe there were things you never said, or a part of you that wasn't ready to let go when it all ended. Perhaps there was a fight that never got a chance for closure, or a goodbye that was never said. Even if you've tried to move on, those unfinished pieces of the puzzle linger in your mind, like a constant itch you can't scratch. It's as if the mind knows something isn't fully resolved, and no matter how much you try to distract yourself or adopt Stoic principles to suppress the feelings, the emotional residue remains, and it weighs on you. Stoicism teaches that we should train ourselves not to be overly attached to outcomes, and especially not to dwell on things beyond our control. But life isn't so simple. People are complex, relationships are messy, and emotions don't always obey the rules of reason. When we leave things unfinished, they hang over us like a cloud, sometimes appearing without warning, often at the most inconvenient moments. Maybe you're driving down a street that you used to walk together, or you hear a song that takes you back to a place in time. Suddenly, all that unresolved tension floods back, and you're hit with the weight of what was never truly settled. This sense of unfinished business doesn't just live in your memories, it becomes part of your emotional landscape, shaping how you move forward and how you relate to others. It creates a void, a sense of what could have been, and that emptiness can haunt you. You might find yourself questioning, what if I had said the right thing? What if I had just fought a little harder for this connection? The more unresolved pieces there are in a relationship, the more the loss feels like a wound that never truly heals. It just scabs over, waiting to be reopened. Even the most disciplined Stoic can fall victim to this. Stoicism may encourage you to accept the impermanence of relationships and let go of attachments, but it doesn't account for the deep, unresolved emotional knots that tie us to others. These knots don't loosen just because we tell ourselves to let them go. They remain, sometimes buried beneath layers of rational thought, but they continue to tug at us, subtly and persistently. The haunting of unfinished business is not something you can erase by simply adopting a new mindset. It's a reminder that relationships are not just about what we can control, but about the connections we create and the stories we leave behind. Stories that often remain unfinished, even after we think we've moved on. So, have you ever experienced the weight of unfinished business in a relationship? Do you find yourself haunted by the things you never said or did? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's talk about how those unresolved feelings shape our lives and whether there's any way to truly find closure. Truth number 3. The challenge of true emotional control. One of the central tenets of Stoic philosophy is the belief in mastering one's emotions. To be a true Stoic, you must learn to control your emotional responses, resist irrational impulses, and remain unfazed by the chaos of life. The Stoics argue that by doing so, we free ourselves from suffering and attain inner peace. On paper, it sounds like the perfect solution for navigating the heartbreak of loss. If you can detach from your emotions and approach life with rationality, you'll never be overwhelmed by grief. But here's the painful reality. Emotional control is much more difficult and far less effective than Stoicism would like to admit, especially when it comes to the raw, unrelenting pain of losing someone you truly care about. Let's face it, we're human. We are built to feel deeply, to experience joy and sorrow, and to connect with others on a profound emotional level. When you lose someone, whether through a breakup, death, or any other form of separation, that connection doesn't simply evaporate because you've decided to control your emotions. No amount of Stoic practice can make the pain of loss vanish entirely. Instead, the emotions may simmer beneath the surface, appearing unexpectedly in waves that you can't anticipate or easily quell. Think about the last time you experienced deep grief. Maybe you tried to adopt the Stoic mindset, telling yourself to accept what's outside your control, pushing aside the desire to mourn, or focusing only on the present. But did it work? Did the sorrow just disappear because you chose to ignore it? The reality is far more complicated. You can't always control the intensity of your emotions, especially when they're tied to something as profound as love, attachment, and loss. In fact, trying to suppress them can often make the pain even worse. The more you try to control your grief, the more it festers, the more it clings to you, and the more it disrupts your attempts at rational detachment. This is the great paradox of Stoicism. The more you strive to master your emotions, the more you may inadvertently magnify the very feelings you're trying to control. It's like trying to stop a wave from crashing against the shore. The harder you push against it, the stronger it becomes. Emotions don't behave according to logical principles. They are wild, unpredictable, and often uncontrollable. And in the face of profound loss, they come rushing back, often when you least expect it. Even if you've spent years cultivating inner peace through Stoic practices, the sudden absence of someone you loved can cause a storm of emotions that cannot simply be reasoned away. You might find yourself staring at your phone, wishing for a call that will never come, or reliving moments you thought you had long since let go. The grief may re-emerge in ways that surprise you, reminding you that emotional control, while valuable in many areas of life, doesn't shield you from the rawness of human pain. So, here's the truth. You cannot always control your emotions, no matter how much Stoicism tells you otherwise. Grief, sadness, and longing are part of the human experience, and no amount of emotional regulation can prevent them from surfacing when you lose someone important. It's not a failure of Stoic philosophy. It's a reminder that, at our core, we are emotional beings, and sometimes we must simply let ourselves feel. What do you think? Have you ever tried to control your emotions after a loss, only to find that they came back stronger than before? Let's hear your thoughts in the comments below. Can emotional control really help us deal with grief, or does it only make the pain more complicated? Share your experiences. Truth number 4. Attachment is part of human nature. Stoicism teaches that attachment is the root of all suffering. By training ourselves to detach from people, things, and outcomes, we can supposedly avoid the pain of loss and disappointment. In a world that often celebrates independence and emotional resilience, this philosophy sounds almost ideal. Detach yourself, and you won't feel the sting of loss. But here's the brutal truth that Stoicism glosses over. Attachment is not just something we choose. It is an integral part of what makes us human. Our ability to form deep emotional bonds with others is not a weakness or a flaw. It's a biological and psychological necessity. And trying to suppress that need for connection will not only fail, it will leave a void that nothing else can fill. Human beings are social creatures, wired for connection. From the moment we are born, we rely on others for our survival, comfort, and sense of self. Our relationships with family, friends, partners, and even pets are not just conveniences. They are the foundation of our emotional and psychological well-being. Attachment is a survival mechanism built into us at a core level. It helps us build trust, create meaningful bonds, and navigate the complex landscape of human interaction. And while Stoicism teaches us to let go of attachments to avoid suffering, it ignores the fact that these very attachments are what make life rich, fulfilling, and worth living. Think about it. The love you share with someone, the companionship you experience, the support system you build, these attachments create the tapestry of your life. Without them, life feels empty, even hollow. The connections we form are not just emotional comforts. They shape our identity, give us purpose, and help us navigate the world. Love, friendship, and belonging aren't optional luxuries. They are central to the human experience. To suggest that we can simply detach from them is like suggesting we can sever a vital organ without consequence. The attachment is part of who we are. It's woven into the very fabric of our being. This is why the loss of someone we are deeply attached to is so excruciating. When that person is gone, it's not just an emotional pain. It's a primal loss that shakes the foundation of who we are. The bond you shared with them isn't something you can simply discard, no matter how many Stoic meditations or rational thoughts you try to use to erase it. The absence of that person creates a void, a space where something vital once lived, and no amount of rational thinking can simply make that void disappear. The deeper the attachment, the deeper the grief. And here's the kicker. While Stoic teachings tell us to let go of attachments to avoid suffering, the truth is that we cannot simply choose to turn off our need for connection. We can suppress it, ignore it, or try to rationalize it away, but that attachment will always be there, lurking in the background. The person who leaves a mark on your life will always have a place in your heart, regardless of your efforts to detach. Attachment is not something you control, it's something you experience. And in the end, it's that very attachment that will make the loss feel so profound, so life-altering. So let me ask you, can we really detach ourselves from the people who matter most to us, or is attachment simply part of being human? Have you ever tried to suppress the attachment you felt for someone, only to realize that the connection was unbreakable? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Is Stoic detachment a realistic goal, or is it just a way to avoid facing the raw truth of our deep human needs? Let's talk about it. Truth number 5. The power of shared memories. One of the most insidious aspects of losing someone is the power of shared memories. Stoic philosophy teaches that we should focus only on what is in our control and live in the present moment, letting go of attachments to the past. In theory, this sounds liberating. If we stop holding on to the past, we can avoid the pain of loss and fully embrace the now. But the reality is far more complex. Memories, especially the ones tied to deep emotional connections, have an uncanny ability to resurface, often when we least expect them. And no matter how much we try to detach or control our emotions, these memories can haunt us long after the person has gone. Think about it. The moments you shared with someone aren't just fleeting thoughts. They are snapshots of your life, imprinted on your heart and mind. Every laugh, every meaningful conversation, every quiet moment of connection. These are not just memories, they are pieces of you. When you lose someone, it's not just the absence of their physical presence that hurts. It's the sudden, sharp awareness that those moments are now in the past. No matter how much you try to let go or move on, these shared experiences are like ghosts that never fully fade away. They linger, quietly reappearing during the most unexpected moments, often reminding you of what once was. Have you ever heard a song, seen a place, or even smelled a scent that instantly transported you back in time to a moment you shared with someone who is no longer in your life? It's as if these memories are encoded in your very senses, constantly available to resurface and take you back to a moment of connection. No matter how much you try to live in the present, these memories refuse to stay locked away. They haunt you, replaying in your mind like a film you can't stop watching, a constant reminder of what you've lost. This is where Stoicism meets its limits. Stoic teachings might encourage us to reject nostalgia and avoid attachment to the past. But the truth is that these memories aren't just optional fragments we can choose to forget. They are part of the emotional tapestry that makes us who we are. When you've loved someone, the shared experiences are woven into the very core of your being. These memories can't simply be erased because you try to detach from them. They have an emotional gravity that no amount of rational thinking can neutralize. What happens when you try to suppress these memories, thinking that you are in control of your emotions? Instead of letting go, you may find yourself more attached to the past, unable to move forward. The more you push the memories away, the stronger they seem to come back, triggered by the smallest things. In fact, it's often when we least expect it, in a quiet moment or when we're caught off guard, that the memories resurface with a force that feels almost overwhelming. In this way, shared memories become an uninvited, constant companion. They don't respect Stoic teachings, nor do they obey the rules of emotional control. They come and go, flooding you with feelings that you can't simply let go of. The haunting power of memories, both the joyful and the painful ones, is something that even the most practiced Stoic cannot escape. So here's the truth. Shared memories don't fade just because you want them to. They are part of the essence of what it means to be human, to live, love, and remember. And as long as those memories remain, the person you've lost will never be entirely gone. They live on in those moments, in the places you visited together, in the songs you once shared. And sometimes those memories will be the very thing that haunts you forever. Do you have memories that refuse to fade, no matter how much time passes? Drop a comment below and let's talk about how memories shape our grief and our healing process. How do you cope with the memories of someone you've lost? Can you ever truly detach from the past? Let's discuss. Truth number 6. The uncontrollable ripple effect of loss. One of the most insidious aspects of profound loss is the ripple effect it creates in your life. Stoicism teaches that we should focus on what we can control and strive for inner peace by cultivating resilience in the face of external events. Yet, the raw, undeniable truth is that loss doesn't just affect you in one neat, isolated way. When someone you deeply care about is taken from your life, whether through death, a breakup, or any other form of separation, it sends shockwaves through every corner of your existence. And those ripples, they don't stop at your emotions. They invade your relationships, your routines, your sense of self, and even your worldview. In short, the consequences of loss aren't just emotional, they're far-reaching, and they often spiral out of control in ways you never anticipated. Imagine the moment you lose someone close to you, the initial shock, the deep ache that follows. The first few days might feel like a fog, where the world seems to move at a slower pace. You might try to find solace in Stoic principles, telling yourself that this loss is part of the natural order, that it's beyond your control, that you should focus on the present moment. But then comes the ripple effect. The small, seemingly insignificant moments, the ones that once felt routine or inconsequential, are suddenly colored by the absence of that person. The seat at the dinner table that they used to occupy, the shared texts that once lit up your phone, the familiar rituals and inside jokes that now feel hollow in their absence. Every corner of your life, no matter how mundane, feels like a reminder of what's gone. And despite your best efforts to apply Stoic detachment, these ripples push through, slowly but relentlessly affecting every aspect of your world. The ripple effect isn't confined to your own emotional state either. The loss of someone can impact your relationships with others in profound ways. You may find yourself more withdrawn, struggling to connect with the people around you, or feeling a sense of disorientation as you navigate your new reality. Friends and family may struggle to understand your grief, even if they try to be supportive. The absence of the person you've lost isn't just felt by you, it changes the dynamic of your other relationships too. It can even make you question your own role in the world, your identity, and the future you once envisioned. But it doesn't stop there. The loss also affects your sense of routine, the structure of your day-to-day life. The smallest disruptions, the time you spend alone when you used to share it with them, the activities that once brought you joy but now feel empty, become constant reminders of the void they left behind. The ripple effect takes over your schedule, your habits, your very sense of normalcy. No amount of emotional control or philosophical thinking can simply reset the balance. The world doesn't return to its previous equilibrium. Instead, it feels like you're navigating through an entirely new reality, one that's forever altered. This is the haunting truth that Stoicism often overlooks. The ripples of loss spread far beyond the initial moment of separation. They seep into everything you do, coloring your world in ways that can be both disorienting and painful. The more you try to distance yourself from the pain, the more these ripples reverberate, reminding you that loss doesn't just end. It leaves an imprint on your life that's impossible to escape. So, have you ever felt the ripple effect of a loss reverberate through your life in unexpected ways? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's talk about how a single loss can change everything. Can Stoicism truly help you navigate these far-reaching effects, or do we need something more to cope with the complex aftermath of grief? Truth number 7, the existential void of unchangeable loss. When Stoics talk about the impermanence of life, they emphasize the idea that everything, including our attachments, is temporary. In theory, this should offer a sense of liberation. If we know that all things, good and bad, will eventually fade away, we can let go of our attachments, embrace the present, and experience peace. But here's the raw truth that Stoic philosophy struggles to address. Some losses are so profound, so permanent, that they leave behind an existential void that can never be filled. When someone you love is gone, whether through death, a breakup, or even the dissolution of a meaningful connection, the void left behind isn't just a simple gap. It's a profound, existential space that cannot be rationalized away. This is where Stoicism, for all its wisdom, falls short. While Stoics might urge us to focus only on what's in our control, the truth is that certain losses change you in ways that nothing can undo. Think about the people who have left an indelible mark on your life: a partner, a parent, a best friend. These relationships shape your identity, influence your worldview, and leave behind memories that become integral to who you are. When that person is suddenly gone, it's not just a matter of accepting the natural ebb and flow of life. It's the loss of something that once completed you, that once felt like a vital part of your existence. The absence of such a person is not merely a loss of company, it's a loss of self, an unraveling of what you thought was permanent. This is the existential void that remains after profound loss. It's not a hole that can be patched up or replaced by new relationships, new philosophies, or new distractions. It's a space that forces you to confront the very nature of life itself, the fact that everything is temporary, including the people who mean the most to you. And as much as Stoicism teaches us to accept this impermanence, there is something deeply unsettling about realizing that some things, some people, are gone forever. The deep ache of knowing that a connection, a love, or a bond is now beyond reach leaves behind an emptiness that no amount of rational thought can fill. The person you've lost, no matter how deeply you try to embrace the Stoic idea of detachment, has left a permanent imprint on your soul. You may be able to move forward in life, to find joy again, to build new connections, but that specific loss will always be with you. It's a part of your history, a part of your story that can never be rewritten. You can try to accept it, to tell yourself it's just part of the natural order, but that doesn't change the fact that something irreplaceable has been taken from you. The absence becomes a shadow that lingers, never fully disappearing. This is where the real haunting begins. It's not just the emotional pain of loss, but the deeper, philosophical question: how do you reconcile the fleeting nature of life with the permanence of love and connection? Stoicism might teach us to focus on what's in our control, but the truth is, some losses change us irreparably. The void left by a profound loss is not something you can simply get over. It's something you carry with you, quietly, forever, a reminder of what was and will never be again. So here's the question: have you ever faced a loss that left you with an existential void you couldn't fill? How did you reconcile with the fact that some things, some people, are gone forever? Let's talk about it in the comments below. Do you think Stoicism can truly help us heal from such profound losses? Or is it just a way of avoiding the deeper pain of accepting impermanence? Share your thoughts. Conclusion: embracing the haunting truths of loss. In the end, the dark truths of Stoic philosophy on loss are not simply theoretical lessons to be learned and neatly tucked away. They are deep, emotional realities that speak to the very core of our human experience. While Stoicism offers valuable tools for coping with life's challenges, emphasizing acceptance, detachment, and the importance of focusing on what's in our control, it doesn't fully prepare us for the raw, profound pain that loss can bring. The truth is, no amount of rationalization or emotional control can erase the deep, existential effects of losing someone you love. From the illusion of complete detachment to the weight of unfinished connections, the ripple effects of grief, and the haunting presence of shared memories, we've explored how Stoic teachings sometimes fail to address the emotional complexities that loss creates. Loss doesn't just shape your heart, It transforms your entire worldview, leaving a mark that cannot be erased. Whether we try to detach, control our emotions, or embrace the present moment, some losses are so profound that they will forever alter the course of our lives, leaving us with haunting questions about love, impermanence, and what it means to truly live. But while Stoicism might not offer all the answers, it doesn't mean we can't find ways to grow from the pain. It's in the acceptance of loss, in the courage to feel deeply, and in the willingness to live with both the joy and the grief of life that we find our strength. Through understanding the complexities of human connection and loss, we can begin to heal, rebuild, and even find new depths of meaning in our lives. If you've found this conversation valuable, or if you've experienced any of these haunting truths in your own life, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and share how you've navigated the complexities of loss and attachment. Can Stoic philosophy truly help us overcome the pain of losing someone, or is it something we must simply learn to live with? And don't forget, if you enjoyed this exploration, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more thought-provoking discussions. Your engagement not only helps us continue these important conversations, but also helps build a community where we can all learn, grow, and support one another. Thank you for being a part of this journey. Let's keep the conversation going.